Hi there. Now we're going to do lesson 182. I will be still an instant and go home. The key thing to understand about this lesson is that we need to focus on that instant. Once we choose to be still, even for one instant, in that instant that the mind has been stilled, we are home because we will be feeling the truth of who we are. So let's see what Jesus has to say about this. Paragraph 1. This world you seem to live in is not home to you. And somewhere in your mind, you know that this is true. A memory of home keeps haunting you, as if there were a place that called you to return. Although you do not recognize the voice, nor what it is the voice reminds you of. It's kind of like in the movie, The Wizard of Oz, and Dorothy wanted to go home. And all along she could have gone home just by clicking her shoes together, which in that instant, when she was not focusing on all the things that were around her, the fact that, she didn't have a brave heart, or that she wasn't smart enough, or whatever it is that those characters were representing about her own mind, in that instant that she stopped focusing on the outer world and made the decision to go home, in that instant that she clicked her heels, the mind got still. There was an awareness that she could be in a place called home. That awareness that we could be home, that desire that we want to return home, is the thing that every one of us who enters this spiritual journey is the thing that we're trying to get to is the thing that is getting us there. It's that desire, because the desire is coming from a knowingness that it is so. So this is a really wonderful, wonderful lesson to remind us that in one instant, all we need is one instant to taste home, to have us become more aware that home is real, so that we will want to experience that instant more and more and more. That instant of stillness in the mind is what allows us to create a sustained awareness that we're home for the rest of our lives. All right, so paragraph 1, still, sentence 4. Yet still you feel an alien here, from somewhere all unknown. Nothing so definite that you could say with certainty you are an exile here. So because the world appears to be real, you think you kind of belong here, but inside of you, you know you don't belong here, that there's more. And it's not about not being here, because what we're discovering is home is a state of mind that is a state that is with you all the time. You're just not accessing it because you're focused on the world and on not wanting to be part of this insanity. You want sanity, but our mind believes that we have to go somewhere else. We got to go home to find the sanity. But see, Dorothy, her sanity came from being where she was, but focused on the stillness that was inside of her. Okay, so sentence number 6 says, just a persistent feeling, something not more than a tiny throb, at other times hardly remembered, actively dismissed, but surely to return to mind again, this desire to go home. Paragraph 2, no one but knows whereof we speak. Yet some try to put by their suffering in games they play to occupy their time and keep their sadness from them. Yes, many of us get distracted with the job, the family, the chores, the to-do list, the incessant needing to get more educated and chasing the next thing that's going to make you somebody or feel good. But all of that chasing, by the way, is because we're not fully fulfilled. We think that next thing is going to make us feel better. And that's what keeps us from being still for one instant and knowing that we're home. Because really, what is this home that we're talking about here? Home is a recognition that we have God inside. Once we acknowledge that God is inside of us and God goes wherever we are home. That's what home is a return to embodying the truth of who we are. Paragraph 2, sentence 3. Others will deny that they are sad and do not recognize their tears at all. I used to be in that group. I'm not sad. I'm not afraid. There's nothing wrong with me. Chase, 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 chase. Well, what was I chasing? I was chasing a carrot. Why was I chasing it? Because I wasn't happy here. It wasn't enough here. But, there's nothing wrong with me. There's nothing I'm sad about. There's nothing I'm afraid about. Well, the ego denies that because in the chase, we're so busy, we don't even realize what's really happening here, which is a discomfort with ourselves, which is what sends us on the chase. But until we sit with the discomfort that we have, that there's something missing, we can't come inside to realize that all that is missing is the awareness of our wholeness. Once we're aware that we're whole, there's nothing missing, there's no more chase. Now the doing happens because it's fun, but not to get something, but rather to give of the wholeness that you already are. Sentence 4 in paragraph 2. Still, others will maintain that what we speak of is illusion, not to be considered more than but a dream. Oh yeah, many of us say, oh yeah, sure, it's a dream. You know, it's not, how can you possibly have God inside? How can you possibly be whole? Of course you have to chase to be completed. Yeah, Jerry Maguire, you complete me. That's the story the world wants us to believe, because as long as we're believing the story that our wholeness comes from the outside, we will continue to play the game and chase. A lot of people sell us a lot of things because we're willing to chase them down. It's a crazy illusion with so many layers that we're peeling and realizing how in our belief that we're not already home and complete, we have created industries that want to fulfill that need for us, and they keep us chasing, and that makes us tired, and it makes us go into debt. It makes us unhappy. It breaks up our homes. It breaks up our relationships. It gives us illness. It maintains the insurance companies going. It maintains the pharmaceuticals going, the crazy medical system going. It keeps the schools going, offering more degrees, more things. Oh, it's a crazy system that we have perpetuated without end. There's no end to all the things that we could get to make us happy, none of which will ever make us happy, because only the recognition that home is where we are already will make us happy, because then that's the happiness we're going to come out into the world with, not to get anymore, but to give of that happiness, our joyful self. Sentence 5, paragraph 2. Yet who, in simple honesty, without defensiveness and self-deception, would deny he understands the words we speak? If you sit here and you get honest and you stop defending while you're chasing, you could easily say, yeah, I do feel that there's something missing, and I kind of have a sense that I know it's there, but I just don't know how to get to it. Can you help me? Jesus, show me the way. How sweet it would be if we could all just sit still and acknowledge that we long for home. We long for wholeness. We long for truth. Paragraph 3. So we speak today for everyone who walks this world, for he is not at home. He goes uncertainly about in endless search, seeking in darkness what he cannot find. For recognizing what it is he seeks, not recognizing what it is he seeks. So let's break this sentence down. Seeking in darkness for what he cannot find. Seeking in darkness is seeking inside of density. Density is chasing somebody, chasing something, chasing money, chasing titles. That heaviness of that chasing underneath the belief that I don't have it, and when I get it, I'll be somebody. That's what's darkness, because our eyes are covered up. We can't see the truth. We can't see that we're going nowhere. We can see that we're looking for love in all the wrong places. That darkness we cannot see because our eyes are blinded to the truth. So we are seeking in darkness for what we cannot find, not recognizing what it is that we seek. We're seeking love, but we're seeking what we already are. We just don't know that we're seeking what is already here. That's why we're going there. 1,000 homes he makes, yet none contents his restless mind. 1,000 homes, what is that? Every day of our lives, we're creating an idea of home. Oh, it's in this play date when we're little. Oh, it's in that passing that grade when we get into school. Or it's in becoming members of that club. It's in being on this sports team or this dance team, or it's being by ourselves in our room reading our book, or it's drugs that becomes our home, or it's the job, or it's the school, or it's the being part of the fraternity or the sorority. We create lots and lots of homes, so we think this is it. only to find out that it can never sustain our happiness, because in looking out there, we're denying that it isn't here. And the chase is the denial of what is already so. That's why we have to acknowledge that we're chasing. Because when you know that you're chasing, you can see both sides of the same coin. The chase is the opposite. It's the denial of what is already there. So we got to acknowledge that we're chasing something. Sentence number 4, he does not understand that he builds in vain, builds homes in vain. The home he seeks cannot be made by him. I cannot create my safety in this world of ever-changing things. My safety cannot be in the marriage. It cannot be in the money that I'm making. It cannot be in my bank account. It cannot be in my job. It cannot be in what the government program is that's supposedly supposed to help me. It cannot be in the laws and regulations that different people can change depending on the whims that they're operating from. Look at the world of laws in specifically in the country of the United States. We have a Supreme Court that creates these laws, that upholds laws or says no, that they're not constitutional or whatever. We change the people, so those things change, those laws change. So we're trying to live by laws that none of them are sustainable, because the people who guard them change, and they change based on the whims of whoever is changing them. So there are so many things out there in the world that will never give us the stability of returning home. And we come home if in just one instance of stillness. Because when you stop chasing, you're home. Isn't that amazing? That's the paradox. Stop the chase and you're home. Stop the chase and you have what you were chasing for. It's powerful. And if you're chasing, it's because something inside of you knows that you will get to that. That's why you're chasing what you're wanting. Nobody goes chasing for what they don't want. The chase is the knowingness that there is something else. Let's sit and be with what is that something else and get clear that it is love. And then let's discover, where is that love? Then you realize God is that love. And where is God? God is inside. What is the life force that animates you? It's love. Love is seeking love. Love through us is seeking our awareness that love is in us. Isn't this amazing? Sentence number 6 in paragraph 3. There is no substitute for heaven. All he ever made was hell. In the chase, we're making hell. Paragraph 4. Perhaps you think it is your childhood home that you would find again. You know, if you had a wonderful family, you want to return to that. Or if you had a horrible family, you want to recreate, or not recreate, but you want to create a childhood home. I know for me, there were wonderful things about my childhood, but then there were some not so wonderful things, and I wanted to create in my future, my family, a home that had the good part of my childhood and avoided what I didn't like about my childhood. Sentence number 2, the childhood of your body and its place of shelter are a memory now so distorted that you merely hold a picture of a past that never happened. So in my childhood, my little girl, that 10-year-old, that 8-year-old, that 6-year-old that I remember, that age when I had a body that was 6, 7, 8, is so distorted in my mind, because I took experiences that happened and made them right, made them wrong, made them good. So I'm chasing them, made them bad, so I'm avoiding them. And they have totally distorted what really happened. What happened is I had a childhood, but it's not happening now. So I'm operating out of a childhood that is distorted in my mind that is running my life today. So as an adult, when I'm living from that childish perspective, I'm operating like a 6, 7, 8-year-old. We all do it, by the way. When you see somebody throwing a tantrum and you go, oh my gosh, that man is acting like a 4-year-old. Well, that's what's happening. That memory got activated, and that's what's running the show. Sentence 3, yet there is a child in you, child with a capital C in you, who seeks his father's house and knows that he is alien here. This childhood is eternal. This is our Christ-like sense of self, with an innocence that will endure forever. Where this child shall go, child with a capital C, where this child shall go is holy ground, which means that inside of us is a child. It's the essence of God, is pure innocence, pure love. inside of us, that one that is innocent and pure was there in our childhood at 6, at 7, at 8, at 9, and 10. That's the one that we want to tap into, who was just aware that there were things that were happening. And instead of making those things define me, that child that was present as the Christ in us, that was aware that life happened and things happen, we are returning back to that sense of innocence to observe what is and choose again to see it from love and not fear. To see our past, our childhood experiences and say, it is what it is, it's done and over with. It cannot define us, and we choose not to let it confine us. And once we acknowledge it is what it is and I'm free of that, in an instance that I'm still and I return home into my truth, my innocent child within, it's my Christ consciousness. It's a part of me that can love what is and can release all my judgments that I made that have been filed away in my mind in what I call my memory. And I could easily wipe that memory clean by seeing everything as an opportunity for me to have been the presence of love, or it was just a call for love. In my childhood, there were many calls for love that I used as reasons to be afraid, and then that began to spin an idea of how I should be, how things should be, allowed me to judge my parents, allowed me to become protective, allowed me to become manipulative. Well, if in my mind I get still and return home, I will realize that God's not remembering that, only my ego remembers that. And when I can bless it and say, oh, it's done and over with, it was just an experience that I had because I chose to be human. Now I release my mind from being tethered to the past. I now can be present in this now moment in innocence, not knowing what anything is for, accepting that things are changing, accepting that the world's going to come in and go, and I'm just going to play with it, not to get anything, but to give, because giving and receiving are one. So as I give to the world of my wholeness, I receive the expansion of that wholeness inside of me. I receive the joy that continues to multiply inside of me because I'm giving from the well of stillness inside of me, my peaceful self, not my hurt, angry, anxious self. Sentence number 6 says in paragraph 4, it is His holiness, God's holiness, that lights up heaven. And our holiness and God are the same thing as the essence of that child, that Christ consciousness in us. So it is His holiness that lights up heaven and that brings to earth the pure reflection of the light above, wherein our earth and heaven joined as one. When we connect with that truth inside of us, acknowledge that yes, that essence of God, that essence of childlike wonder, that Christ consciousness, that peaceful self, all of that is the same. That's what Jesus was teaching 2,000 years ago. I and the Father are one, because we have God inside, God and Christ and childlike sense of wonder and truth and innocence. It's all the same energy. We're coming into remembering that by recognizing it is already there. Paragraph 5, it is this child in you your Father knows as His own Son. When God and I are one, the Father and I are one, Father and Son become one. Where two or more are gathered, there is love. In that connection, that child in me that longs to be united with my Father, my job is to be still and let that union happen inside of me. Let myself know that I am one with my Father. Father, Mother, God, whatever you want to call it, that it is all one energy. It cannot be divided. And that energy that I am, that I know is the truth of the essence of who I am, is in me because it's what I'm made of. It's the life force that animates me, that once I decide to not be here anymore, that I exit stage left and I complete my time on the stage called life, or the stage called being human. When I complete this role, what's going to leave? It's the experience of the leaving of the body is the energy of God, the energy of soul, of Christ consciousness. Why wait till my body completes its turn and exit stage left? Why not go ahead and acknowledge that is in me, so that I can stop seeking for it out there. I can come into my wholeness and find my peace here, now, while I'm alive. That is what unites heaven on earth. So while I'm in this earth, let me allow heaven inside of me to shine forth through me. Paragraph number 5. And I already read this, but let me read it again. It is this child in you, your Father knows as his own. It is this child who knows his Father. He desires to go home so deeply, so unceasingly. His voice cries unto you to let him rest a while. So that yearning that you're feeling, that need to seek, that's that child in you saying, please find me. But we've been taught to find outside. We now need to learn where our mind is being trained to come inside, so that seek and you will find in here, where it is, where it's always been. But we got trained out of it. Now we're coming back in here and acknowledging it is there. He does not ask for more than just a few instants of respite, just an interval in which he can return to breathe again the holy air that fills his Father's house. You are his home as well. When we recognize that everything that we want is right here, that the wholeness of God is in us, that when we return to that childlike sense of wonder, we return to our innocence. And what that means, innocence, is we don't know what anything is for. We don't label things good or bad. We begin to see things as neutral, because a child sees things as neutral until it gets scared and begins to label them. So we are meeting the child that is us, that is God, that is source, before it begins to get indoctrinated and programmed to do things as the world teaches. And for many of us, that childlike sense of wonder is who we were before conception. So yes, we have to do that inner child work and recognize that we're through the process of healing the blocks that we created to the perception that what we are is already whole. But we got to go backwards and retrieve the one that is truly whole. And that's why we have to get still and get comfortable. Many of us don't want to be still because we don't want to feel the pain of our childhood. We don't want to feel the discomfort of our fears. We don't want to admit we have fears. We don't want to admit we have sadness. We don't want to admit that we're scared. We don't want to admit that we're empty and seeking and searching outside of us. We don't want to admit any of those things. But when we admit that we have those things, we can transcend them all. Why? Because we will come to the place of stillness where we will know that they're all made up in our mind. And if you don't want to believe it anymore, it won't be so. Well, for you to know that you don't have to believe what is not true, you got to come to realize that the truth will only be revealed to you when you stop believing those things. But before you stop believing those things, you got to admit to yourself, stop denying that you're believing that there's something missing in you. All right, paragraph 5. I'm sorry, still in paragraph 5, sentence 5. So you are his home as well. He will return. But give him just a little time to be himself within the peace that is his home, resting in silence and in peace and love. We have to soothe our inner child. We got to let our sense of self know that we're okay. Instead of going out there seeking for our joy, we're going to come in and reparent ourselves. We're going to grow ourselves up from that immature perspective that we picked up from our unconscious parents. We're going to grow ourselves up into a mature awareness of the truth of who we are. So we got to give that little kid inside of us that is seeking for happiness, for stability outside of us, number one, acknowledge, yes, I feel like I'm not whole and complete. And then look at, where does that come from? It's because I got trained by people who believed that they were not whole and complete. We were raised by unconscious people, by an unconscious government, by an unconscious society, unconscious teachers. So we now need to make conscious what was unconscious before. So we're becoming conscious that there was a wholeness there that we came to bring to the world. Why? Because we recognize that we were before we were born. There is an isness to the energy of God that has been forever. So in this life experience, we appear to be in a temporary state of forgetfulness, so that we can begin the process of remembering the truth that has been true always. In stillness, we reclaim it, we reconnect with it, we begin to own it and embrace it. We do the inner work that grows us up, that matures us from a perspective of a scared child to the perspective of the truth of who we are. Owning that we are one with God, listening to God again, then we come back into the world but not be of it. Instead of seeking out there, we know that it is in here, and then we're the bringers of the light and the joy and the peace that this world is meant to receive from us. Because when we give our love and joy, we transform the planet. But we are seeking the planet to give us what we think we need, because we don't remember. We don't remember that we're here to help the planet, not to take from it. Sentence number 1 in paragraph 6. This child needs your protection. He is far from home. He is so little that he seems so easily shut out. His tiny voice so readily obscured. His call for help almost unheard amid the grating sounds and harsh and rasping noises of the world. Yet does he know that in you still abides his pure protection. Most of us do not want to acknowledge that we have a childlike sense of wonder inside of us, that the little kid in us, the happy, joyful child, innocent child, the childlike sense of wonder, the Christ-like aspect of ourselves, really wants to play and have fun and get along with everybody. It wants everybody to be our teammate. It wants to play and have a good time. But we're so afraid to say, I really just want to play. I don't want to work so hard. I don't want to do this to-do list. I don't want to be so responsible. I don't want to keep chasing. I don't want to keep preparing for my future. You know, today's generation, these millennials, they just want to play and have fun. And we think they're entitled. We don't like it that they're entitled. They should get off their butts and go work and like everybody else. They don't want to do that because they're listening to their heart. They're listening to that part that says, this is too complicated. This is too difficult. You know, it used to be that people did what they loved and then they traded. The baker traded their bread. The one who loved raising sheep traded the sheep or traded the wool. The ones who had the gardens and had the corn would trade the corn. The one who could do the haircut would cut the hair of the one who had the corn because they wanted corn. We used to do what we loved and we would trade. It used to be so simple. But we've complicated it so much because we were taught to chase, to chase, to chase. So this little kid in us needs us to protect it and say that what matters to our childlike sense of wonder is valid. So we can begin to realize that there's a voice inside of us that really knows what is best for us. And it's to return to that sense of joyful wonder and fun and innocence. Sentence 5 in paragraph 6. You will fail him not. He will go home and you along with him. So that inner child, when we have the death experience, that soul that leaves our body, that's our childlike sense of wonder, returns back into pure consciousness and then says, let me come back again because I know that in my next incarnation I will find my truth. So why not find it now? Why not acknowledge that you are already home in here? Realize you're in the kingdom of heaven. Nothing is missing. Quit chasing outside of yourself and you will reconnect with that truth that is in you, has been in you always. Paragraph 7. This child is your defenselessness, your strength. When you begin to own that what you know, what you feel, what you want matters, you stop defending it. You begin to own it, and then you will have to protect that side of you that says, you know what, I'm going to give up this corporate job. I want to be a musician. I want to give up this to-do list. I just want to do what feels good in the moment. And you're going to have to see that fears are going to come up. But once you say, I'm not going to let those fears scare me into going back to the same old, you're going to find that as you release those fears and you begin to do what you love, you will find a sense of strength that nothing will be ever will make you believe that who you are is not whole. He trusts in you, this child, this part of us, trusts that we will find it, which is just God. Trust that we're going to come back and acknowledge God. He came because he knew you would not fail. He came. We came into this life experience knowing that in our physical experience, we would not fail to wake up. He whispers of his home incessant and unceasingly to you. That voice of what you love, of what you want to do, of that song you want to write, of that dance that you want to choreograph, of that painting you want to paint, of that app that you want to build, of that discovery that you want to make, that voice stays with you. For he would bring you back with him, that he himself might say and not return again where he does not belong, and where he lives an outcast in a world of alien thoughts. So we've got all these ego thoughts that are alien to our childlike sense of wonder, who trusts that our child has desires. When we listen to the desires of our child, the Father, God, Source, Spirit, makes sure that everything aligns. But the thoughts that we have, these alien thoughts that we learned from the world, are what blocks us from hearing that child and allowing God to show us the way. That would be fun and easy. That would allow us to experience life as a joyful experience. His patience has no limit. So that child in you will stay in you until you decide to wake up. So if it's not in this lifetime, it's okay. It might be in 10 lifetimes. It's okay, because that part of us knows it's already whole and complete, so it is not worried, it is not concerned. He will wait until you hear his gentle voice within you, calling you to let him go in peace along with you to where he is at home and you with him. So even if it happens after the death experience, it's okay. That part of us is not afraid. But the opportunity is to find it now so we can experience heaven on earth now. Paragraph 8. When you are still an instant, when the world recedes from you, when valueless ideas cease to have value in your restless mind, then will you hear his voice. Valueless ideas is looking for love outside of ourselves, thinking money, power, titles, relationships make us what God already created us to be. Thinking anything out there can add to you is the listening to these valueless voices, valueless ideas. So poignant he calls to you that will not resist him longer. So poignantly he calls to you that you will not resist him longer. You won't be able to, now that you are aware, especially studying something like A Course in Miracles, which is as profound as it gets in my opinion, there's no way you can resist this calling. It's going to gnaw at you forever. In that instant that you decide to listen, he will take you to his home, and you will stay with him in perfect stillness, silent and at peace, beyond all words, untouched by fear and doubt, sublimely certain that you are at home. So that's the place that I rest in most of the time. I rest inside of that knowingness of that my wholeness is already accomplished, that my truth is already so, that my strength, my power, no matter what happens to my physical body, comes from God, because that's how God created me. From that place, the fears that come up, the thoughts that are fearful, I can let them go for the most part before they even are fully formed, because they have a certain feeling that I know I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to believe what is not true. Sometimes they get a hold of me and I got to process them, and it may take me, a couple of hours, sometimes a day, but I won't stay there very long, because I know the difference between feeling peace and feeling anxiety. Paragraph 9, rest with him frequently today, for he was willing to become a little child, that you might learn of him how strong is he who comes without defenses, offering only love's messages to those who think he is their enemy. He holds the might of heaven in his hand and calls them friend, and gives his strength to them that they may see he would be friend to them. He asks that they protect him, for his home is far away, and he will not return to it alone. So we've got this child inside of us that is waiting for us to come back, reconnect with it, and when we reconnect with that sense of truth that is inside of us, we will together as one, we will come into the world, be in it but not of it. We will bring our wholeness. We will bring light and salvation to the planet. We will stop holding people accountable for our happiness. We will stop blaming them for our misery. We will become somebody who is so balanced that we will be compassionate, and we will be bringers of truth to the planet. Paragraph 10, Christ is reborn as but a little child each time a wanderer would leave his home. As soon as we stop seeking out there and we come back in, Christ is reborn as that little child. For he must learn that what he would protect is but this child, who comes defenseless and who is protected by defenselessness. When we no longer defend ourselves against the world, we are now finally connecting with the innocence inside of us. Because now you know that how God made you is perfect. You don't need to prove it to anybody. You don't need to defend yourself from anything, because nobody out there could possibly know the truth of who you are. So you don't waste your time, your energy in proving anything. You use your time and energy in being the truth of who you are. Go home with him from time to time today. You are as much an alien here as he. Go inside. Spend a little time in stillness. Paragraph 11. Take time today to lay aside your shield, which profits nothing. Shield, your defenselessness, your need to be right. And lay down the spear and sword you raised against an enemy without existence. That world, it doesn't exist only except in your mind. Christ has called you friend and brother. He has even come to ask your help in letting him go home today. Completed and completely. Christ is giving us a book, giving us a Course in Miracles, has been talking to us for 2,000 years, telling us that if we love ourselves and we love God, we will be able to love our neighbors. There is nothing to defend when you love God and you love yourself, because there is no neighbor that you're going to try to be righteous with. You're just going to love them where they are. Sentence 4, he has come as does a little child who must beseech his father for protection and for love. He rules the universe, and yet he asks unceasingly that you return with him and take illusions as your gods no more. So it's like that little kid that says, Daddy, Daddy, let's go to the park. Daddy, Daddy, Mommy, Mommy, let's go have an ice cream. That innocence. Come on, Mom, Dad, stop doing that busy thing that you're doing. Let's go have fun. Well, that little child in us, that Christ in us, is telling us we came here to have fun, to play, to be happy. Our purpose is happiness. Let's get back to that. Let's own that it's in here so we can share it with others and bring that childlike sense of wonder back into existence. Into the recognition that it already exists is what we're doing. Paragraph 12. You have not lost your innocence. Can't. It's in there. It is for this that you yearn. We want to stop being blamed and judged and misunderstood. This is your heart's desire. At the end of the day, we all want to be seen for the pureness that is inside of us. This is the voice you hear, and this the call which cannot be denied. The Holy Child remains with you. His home is yours. Today he gives you his defenselessness, and you accept it in exchange for all the toys of battle you have made. Quit defending that you need all these things out there and begin the process of reuniting with the truth of who you are. Let go of all your illusions, your blames, your past. Let all that go. And just give yourself the opportunity to know that what you are has no memory of a past, so that you can begin to live in the present, where in the present you can be the presence of love. You can see everything as a call for love or as love expressed. If it's calling for love, you bring it. If it's love expressed, you have fun and you just enjoy it. And now the way is open and the journey has an end in sight at last. Be still an instant and go home with him and be at peace a while. This is an invitation for you to acknowledge that what you're looking for is already inside of you. In quiet, just say, it's in me. I accept that innocence in me is the Christ consciousness in me. That Christ is the Father, because the Father and the Son are one. Begin to accept that as our truth and begin to acknowledge that it is in you. In that acknowledgement, you will begin to activate the resonance of it. As you activate the resonance of it, you will know it is there. As you know it is there, you'll stop chasing for it there. And little by little, you will untether yourself from the world. You will come back inside. But it takes an instant of recognition. Then that instant turns into 2 instances, into 60 instances. Now all of a sudden you have a minute of recognition. Those 60 minutes of recognition, you spend an hour inside of that awareness. Now you've experienced it for an hour. You string a couple of those hours together. Now you're a couple of hours in an afternoon spending in silence and stillness. Then you will know that it is true. And eventually you won't go out there, because you'll see that nothing out there will ever give you the peace that is in you. And you will begin to take that peace with you out there, because you'll have returned home. And from home, you will move into the world in your home base. That will be your center. That will be the place of your balance. And you will take that with you, because you will know that that's the only thing that ever matters. Thanks a bunch. I hope you enjoyed this lesson, and I'll see you in the next one.